Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something pretty fascinating, how one of the world's biggest economies is trying to completely reinvent its approach to innovation.
Japan has always been this absolute giant in technology, right? But when you look at the super fast-paced world of startups, well, it's a totally different game. And honestly, it's a game of catch-up. But here's the thing. They have a very specific playbook they're running.
So we actually got an inside look. We're going to take you into this online program that just happened for alumni from the ASEAN countries. That's the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. This is where top government officials literally laid out their entire plan, talking directly to the next generation of leaders and founders. So yeah, let's get into it.
All right, first up, let's really set the stage here, because you need to understand just how big this ambition is. We're not talking about some small-scale project. This is a full-on national priority.
Okay, look at these numbers. The amount of money pouring into Japanese startups has just exploded. We're talking nearly 4 times what it was a decade ago. That's not just pocket change. It shows they are dead serious about building this ecosystem from the ground up.
But, and this is a huge but, here's the reality check. Even with that incredible growth, Japan's total startup investment, it's still just a tiny fraction of what you see in the United States. We're talking only 3%. That gap, right there, is the engine driving this whole new global push. They know they have to do something completely different if they want to compete.
So the big question is, how do you even begin to close a gap that big? Well, their answer isn't just to throw more money at it. It's about people. It's about relationships. This is the long game, and it brings us right to the heart of their strategy.
It all starts with this thing called the Genesis program. You can think of it as a long-term soft power play. It's been running for years, kind of under the radar, just quietly building this foundation of goodwill and personal connections across Asia.
And we heard directly from Mr. Hideo Takamizu of the Foreign Ministry. He called it a friendship cycle. I love that term. The whole idea is that you build these genuine personal connections first, and you trust that down the line, they'll naturally blossom into business and economic partnerships.
And when I say they're serious about this, I mean it. This is a massive effort. Since 2007, more than 36,000 young leaders have been through this program. Just think about that. That's a huge network of alumni out there who all have a real, positive, first-hand experience of Japan.
So the program's goals are super clear. It's all about building these deep, long-term ties. The strategy is simple. Create a shared understanding and trust before you even get to a spreadsheet or a business plan.
Okay, so you've built the relationships. You've got this network of friends. What's next? Well, this is where the playbook gets really practical. It's all about the actual support for startups, and it's led by this super powerful government agency that basically acts as a bridge.
Let me introduce you to JETRO, the Japan External Trade Organization. The best way to think of them is like the ultimate concierge service for any foreign business that wants to get into Japan. Their whole job is to take a market that can seem really complex and make it simple and accessible. Mr. Yuta Hayashida from JETRO walked us through their playbook, and it's pretty impressive. They give you basically everything you need. All the info on rules and regulations, they offer you free co-working space in 6 major cities, and maybe most importantly, they connect you with the right people through their J-Bridge platform. They're literally removing all the friction that a foreign founder would normally face.
And does this stuff actually work? Oh yeah, here's a perfect example. There's this startup called Aster. They came out of a university. They developed this incredible earthquake-resistant paint. JETRO helped them turn that invention into a real business, a successful export. And now, that paint is protecting buildings in Taiwan, the Philippines, Indonesia, you name it. It's a Japanese deep tech solution that's now scaled globally. So you see the picture, right? Japan has the long-term relationship strategy, and it has the practical support system. But then, during the Q&A, one of the alumni asked this really sharp question that kind of blew the whole thing open and revealed the real story here, the hidden opportunity.
So what was the question? Well, this participant, Johannes Wirawan, basically asked, hey, Japan's adoption rate for AI tools like ChatGPT is surprisingly low. What's that going to do to your economy? And bam, that question gets right to the heart of the biggest challenge Japan is facing right now.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this contrast. In a country like Indonesia, nearly 90% of companies are using AI. In Japan, it's hovering around 20%. Now your first thought is, wow, that's a massive weakness. But, and this is the key, it's not a weakness, it's an invitation. And this is the big pivot in their whole strategy.
As Mr. Hayashida from JETRO explained, this gap, it's actually a huge opportunity. Japan knows it needs help to catch up on digitalization, so the government is actively making the country, in his words, a very reasonable country for foreign founders. They're basically saying, please, come here and help us fill this void.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. Japan isn't just passively opening its doors. No, it is actively recruiting global talent to solve its biggest domestic challenges. It's turning a problem into a massive global opportunity.
So let's put all the pieces together. The crucial point is that Japan has this clear two-part strategy. On one hand, you have the diplomatic soft power stuff, like the Genesis program, building a trusted global network. And on the other, you have the economic muscle of JETRO, making it super easy and low risk to enter the market. And both of those things are now pointing innovators directly at their biggest challenge and their biggest opportunity, AI.
So, what this all shows us is a nation that's in a fascinating transition. It's strategically taking what looks like a weakness and flipping it into a global invitation. Japan is rolling out the welcome mat for innovators. The big question is, who's going to be the first to walk through that door? Because what you should really take away from this is that for the right kind of founder, this isn't just an open door. They're rolling out the red carpet.